The death of loyalty. You're drowning in discount codes, aren't you? Every inbox screams sale. Black Friday never ends. Then you blink and that familiar storefront just went out of business. See those red stickers? They're a bloodbath. Behind those desperate discounts, soaring ad costs. You're pouring money into a leaky bucket, constantly chasing new eyeballs because the old ones bolt the second a better deal pops up. Customer loyalty? A myth. Think about that e-commerce owner, sweating payroll, running a perpetual 20% off. They have customers, sure, but not fans. Just transient buyers, always scanning for the next shiny, cheaper thing. Here's the kicker. This isn't about marketing. It's about manipulation versus genuine inspiration. Are you bribing people to buy or inspiring them to join? Now let's get controversial. If you stopped paying for ads today, would your business even exist tomorrow? Would anyone still show up, listen, or buy? Seriously, ask yourself that. If that question just hit home, hit that like button. Most people think the answer is better marketing, but Simon Sinek proves that's actually the fastest way to bankruptcy. Here is the alternative. The manipulation trap. You felt it, right? That subtle nudge, that insistent pull to buy, to sign up, to commit. In a world screaming for your attention, how do you tell the difference between a genuine offer and a finely tuned manipulation? We distill the best books into actionable insights, helping you navigate these choppy waters. But nothing beats the original. Grab the book if you want the full dive. Today, we're dissecting the manipulation trap. This isn't about some shadowy conspiracy. It's about tactics. Short-term sales tactics versus long-term value creation. And honestly, the author doesn't pull punches here. So, what are we talking about when we say manipulation? It strikes when a company exploits your vulnerabilities. The book unpacks 3 main flavors. First, there's price manipulation. Think those infamous limited-time offers or flash sales. You get that adrenaline rush, the fear of missing out, the urgent need to snag a deal now. It feels like a win, but it often tricks you into buying something you don't truly need purely because the price is briefly attractive. Then there's fear manipulation. This one preys on your insecurities. If you don't buy this, you'll be left behind. Your competitors are already using it. Protect your family with this insurance. It's not about making you better. It's about intensifying your anxiety until you capitulate. And finally, peer pressure manipulation, often cloaked as novelty or exclusivity. Everyone else has this. Be part of the in crowd. You see the cues, the social media buzz, the influencers. It ignites a desire to conform, to gain status, simply by possessing what others deem valuable. The bottom line, this stuff works in the short term. But here's the kicker. It's essentially an addiction, a fleeting high. You chase the next discount, the next trendy item, the next quick fix. You're always on the hunt, never quite satisfied, never building true loyalty. It erodes trust, leaving you feeling used, not valued. If this hits home for you, drop a like. Now, contrast that with inspiration. This is where things get really interesting. Inspiration doesn't force you to buy, it beckons you to belong. It ignites a deeper desire, a shared belief, a vision that resonates with your core values. Think about it this way. You've got the corporate employee stressed about their side hustle who buys a gym membership in January. Why? Because of a New Year deal. That price manipulation, that fear of failing on resolutions. They might go a few times, then drop off. They bought a discount. Then you have the CrossFit cult member. They paid double, sometimes triple. Why? Because they believe in the community, the ethos, the shared suffering, the extreme fitness challenge. They're not buying a deal, they're buying into a movement. They exhibit what the author calls irrational behavior. They'll pay more, wait longer, even endure discomfort, not because of a fleeting offer, but because of unwavering loyalty. That's inspiration at work. It cultivates an actual relationship. Let's unpack this with a couple of big names. Look at General Motors. For decades, what was their play? Rebates. Massive, constant rebates. They needed to move cars off the lot. It was pure price manipulation. It incentivized transactional decisions, not brand devotion. You bought a Chevy because it was cheaper this month, not because you bleed Chevy brew. Now, pivot to Tesla. For years, they didn't discount. In fact, people waited months, sometimes years on wait lists. They paid full price, often more than comparable luxury vehicles. Why? Not because of a sale, because Tesla inspired a vision, a future of sustainable energy, groundbreaking tech, a different kind of luxury. They cultivated a tribe that would pay a premium to be part of that future. That's loyalty that transcends simple economics. That's loyalty that creates irrational behavior. So how do you actually build that cult-like following? It starts by reversing the way you speak to human beings. The 3 trillion framework. You've seen it play out. You scroll past another generic ad, another bland pitch for some widget you don't need. It just vanishes into the noise. Now imagine a world where every message cuts through. A world where your ideas, your products, your side hustle resonate so deeply people instinctively buy in. Not because of a fancy feature list, but because you struck a chord in their gut. That's the power packed into this next concept. It's a framework that unlocks the secret behind companies, leaders, and even movements that inspire loyalty and drive billions in revenue. We're talking about the bedrock of the 3 trillion value chain. The author, bless their heart, calls it the Golden Circle. Sounds a little bit like a self-help retreat brochure, doesn't it? But honestly, the simplicity masks a profound truth. Think of it as 3 concentric rings, like a target. The outermost ring, that's your what. This is easy. Everyone knows their what. You make computers, you sell coffee, you offer freelance web design. It's what you do. It's tangible. Move inward. The middle ring is your how. This explains how you do what you do. Maybe you use eco-friendly materials. Maybe your coffee is ethically sourced. Maybe your web design process is hyper-efficient. These are your differentiating factors, your secret sauce. Now for the kicker, the absolute bullseye, the innermost ring. This is your why. This isn't about profit. That's a result. Your why is your purpose, your cause, your belief. It's why your company exists, why you drag yourself out of bed in the morning to do what you do. Here's where it gets interesting. Most of us, when we pitch anything, a product, an idea to our boss, a service for our side gig, we start from the outside in. We start with the what. Think of the standard pitch. It sounds like this. We make great computers. They're fast, powerful, and look fantastic. You should buy one. Logically, it makes sense. It showcases the product. But it rarely inspires. It's just information. Now, let's flip it. Let's look at the Apple pitch. This is the reverse. It starts from the inside out. Everything we do, we believe in challenging the status quo. We believe in thinking differently. The way we challenge the status quo is by making our products beautifully designed, simple to use, and user-friendly. We just happen to make great computers. Want one? See the difference? It ignites a different part of the brain. The first pitch talks to your logical, rational neocortex. That's the part of your brain that processes facts, figures, and benefits. It handles language. But it has no capacity for feelings. It just says, okay, interesting specs. The Apple pitch, by starting with why, bypasses that skeptical neocortex. It targets your limbic brain. This ancient part of your brain controls all feelings, all decision-making, and all behavior. But it has no capacity for language. It's where gut feelings live. It's why you might say, I don't know why, but I just feel right about this company. It's almost like trying to explain love with a spreadsheet. You can list all the logical reasons, but the feeling drives the decision. So when Apple starts with why, they're talking directly to your limbic brain, sparking a feeling of connection and shared belief. Then they give you the how and what for your neocortex to rationalize the gut decision. This isn't just theory. This is about bypassing the logical filter that screams, yeah, but is it really worth the price tag? Think about a freelancer pitching their services. Instead of listing every coding language they know, the what, they explain their mission to simplify complex tech for non-technical founders, the why. They want to empower innovators who feel overwhelmed by the digital landscape. Then they explain how they do it, with clear communication and agile development, the how. Then they mention the specific coding languages they use, the what. One approach gets you a client, the other forges a partnership. This framework doesn't just apply to multinational corporations. It's relevant for you. Whether you're trying to sell a product, pitch an idea at work, or even just convince your kids why they need to eat their broccoli. Though, honestly, good luck with that last one. If this hits home for you, drop a like. The bottom line is, people don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. This isn't some fluffy marketing tactic. It's a biological imperative. It's why some companies struggle for market share and others command fierce loyalty even when their products aren't objectively better. But knowing your why isn't enough if you're targeting the wrong people. You are likely wasting 80% of your budget on people who will never care. Ignore the majority. You've been there, pounding the pavement, pushing an idea, a product, a side hustle, maybe even just a new way of organizing your team at work. You know it's good. You feel it's the future. But most people just stare blankly. Or worse, they actively resist. You're pouring effort into convincing folks who just aren't getting it. Sound familiar? If this hits home for you, drop a like. Here's the deal. Trying to win over everyone is a fool's errand. It drains your energy, it obliterates your bank account if you're running a business, it even sabotages your influence in office politics. We live in an economy that demands efficiency, where every dollar and every minute battles inflation. You simply cannot afford to waste either. Now, Simon Sinek, a guy who really knows how to dissect human behavior, lays this out cold with something called the law of diffusion of innovation. Honestly, the name sounds like a grad school thesis, but the concept, it shatters old assumptions about how ideas spread. Picture it, a bell curve. Remember those from school? On one side, you have the tiny sliver, the 2.5%, the innovators. These are the adventurers. They'll try anything new, just because it's new. They practically seek out unfinished beta versions. They thrive on novelty. Right next to them, another small chunk, the 13.5%, are your early adopters. They're also quick to embrace new things, but they need to see some potential. They don't just buy the first iPhone, they buy the second one after their innovator friends rave about it. They're influential. They trust their gut. Combined, these two groups make up a crucial 16% of any market. These are your people. These are the ones who get it. Now here's the kicker, and this is where Sinek throws down a gauntlet. After the early adopters, you hit the chasm. That's his term. It's a canyon. On the other side sits the early majority, the 34%, who are pragmatic. They're not risking their neck or their hard-earned cash on unproven concepts. They don't trust novelty. They trust results. They need social proof. They need someone else to go first. Then comes the late majority, another 34%, who are even more skeptical. And finally, the laggards, the last 16%, who will only adopt something new when it's absolutely unavoidable, usually when their flip phone finally disintegrates. Trying to convert a laggard is like trying to teach a cat to fetch. Possible, maybe, but why are you wasting your time? Here's what Sinek demands. Stop trying to convince the skeptics. Stop burning precious resources trying to drag the late majority across that chasm. This is where countless ventures implode. Think about that struggling tech startup burning cash trying to get soccer moms in suburban cul-de-sacs to use their new hyper-local event app. They're practically setting fire to investor dollars. Those moms aren't their 16%, but the startup ignores the productivity nerds on Reddit, the actual beta testers, the community organizers online who would download it instantly, test it thoroughly, and evangelize for free. The startup targets the wrong group and then wonders why it's not gaining traction. It's baffling. It's tragic. It's what happens when you ignore the chasm. This strategy revolutionizes how you approach everything. It screams, focus your energy, your marketing, your pitches solely on the 16%, the innovators and early adopters. These are the people who share your core beliefs, who resonate with why you do what you do. They will give you feedback. They will spread your message. They will become your fiercest advocates. They will jump the chasm with you. The bottom line is this: you don't need everyone to love your idea. You need the right people to love it. Target that 16%. Unleash your passion on them. Ignite their enthusiasm. The rest of the bell curve will follow, eventually. Once those early adopters validate your vision, the early majority will finally, cautiously step across. Once you know who to target, you need a filter to stop you from making bad business decisions. Sinek calls this the Celery Test. The Celery Test. All content must be read in a clear, standard voice. Avoid using a strong regional accent. Terminology. When reading financial terms, e.g., compound interest, stocks, ETFs, the speaker must emphasize and express clearly at a speed slower than 5%. Emotion. The voiceover must convey trust and confidence when giving advice, and excitement and enthusiasm when sharing successes or valuable lessons. Reading speed. 130 words per minute. The Celery Test. You stare down the grocery aisle. A dozen options scream for your attention. Organic, non-GMO, gluten-free, keto, vegan, paleo. Your phone buzzes with conflicting advice from health gurus, dietitians, and that one friend who just started a juice cleanse. Overwhelmed? Paralyzed by choice? This isn't just about quinoa versus pasta, is it? It's about every decision point that clogs your calendar, drains your energy, and makes you second-guess your path. Simon Sinek, in his classic Start With Why, offers a powerful, almost brutal solution he calls the Celery Test. Honestly, when I first heard it, I thought, really, Simon? Celery? But stick with me. This isn't just some airy-fairy business jargon. It's a core principle that slashes through indecision and fortifies your entire decision-making process. Here's the core idea. Imagine your why, that deep foundational belief system we talked about, as your only shopping list. And your why for this particular trip, let's say it's optimal health. Nothing else. No distractions, no impulse buys. If your why is truly optimal health, what lands in your cart? Celery and rice milk, maybe some kale. That's it. That's the entire cart. Suddenly, all those tempting organic cookies, the artisanal cheeses, even the healthy protein bars that don't directly serve your specific why of optimal health, they vanish from your radar. Your mission carves out a laser focus. Now, translate that from the supermarket to your life, to your business, to your side hustle. Your why isn't just a mission statement that looks pretty on a website. It's a living, breathing filter that must govern every major choice. Think of it as your brand's bouncer, slamming the velvet rope shut on anything that doesn't belong. This strategy empowers you to reject high-paying clients whose values clash with yours. It allows you to sidestep trendy projects that promise quick bucks but derail your core mission. You might want that shiny new opportunity, but if it doesn't align with your why, it fails the Celery Test. You simply don't buy it. Let's put this to the test with a real-world scenario. Imagine you've painstakingly built a YouTube channel. Years of effort. Your brand? Safe, long-term investing advice. You preach financial literacy, steady growth, no get-rich-quick schemes. You've earned trust. Your followers rely on your prudence. Then a lucrative offer hits your inbox. A crypto company wants to sponsor a video. Big money, life-changing money maybe. Your immediate thought, wow, this could fund my next big project. But then you pause. Your core why is safe investing, educating people on avoiding high-risk gambles. Taking that crypto sponsorship, it's buying gourmet chocolate, even when your why demands only celery. It directly betrays the trust you've meticulously cultivated. It shatters the consistency of your message. It's a spectacular failure of the Celery Test. The money is great, the exposure could be huge, but your audience, the community you built, they'd see it for what it is, a compromise, a drift. And that trust, once broken, is almost impossible to rebuild. You just swapped long-term loyalty for a short-term cash injection. Not worth it. Here's the kicker. When you apply the Celery Test rigorously, your cart, your brand, your life, your output starts to look incredibly consistent to outsiders. It projects clarity. It screams integrity. People begin to understand you without even trying. They know what to expect. They know what you stand for. You aren't just doing things, you are living your why. If this idea resonates with your own decision dilemmas, maybe hit that like button. It helps us know what content truly cuts through for you. This all sounds perfect, but I promised you a skeptical analysis. Here is where Simon Sinek is wrong and where this book might actually hurt you. The BS filter. You've heard the hype. You've probably even felt that initial rush of inspiration. But now, let's yank back the curtain. Welcome to the BS filter. We're not just nodding along here. We're cracking open the hood on this whole start with why phenomenon. Here's where we ask, does this framework actually hold water, or is it just feel-good fluff designed for a corporate retreat slideshow? First up, the science check. The book paints this incredibly neat, incredibly tidy picture. Your why supposedly hits the emotional brain, the limbic system, while the what and how engage the logical neocortex. It sounds elegant, right? And it makes for a fantastic diagram on a whiteboard. But here's the kicker, the bit they don't trumpet. Neuroscientists, most of them are rolling their eyes hard. Your brain doesn't neatly carve itself into such clean, distinct territories, functioning in isolation. It's a messy, beautiful, impossibly complex spaghetti bowl of neural networks, constantly communicating. Simplistic models sell books and simplify complex ideas, but they often shatter under actual scientific scrutiny. This isn't groundbreaking neuroscience. It's a clever, persuasive metaphor dressed up as a biological imperative. Don't build your entire organizational strategy or your personal brand on a debunked brain map. Your why can resonate deeply without a flawed scientific premise underpinning it. Next, let's talk about the invisible graveyard of good intentions. The book, like so many others, spotlights companies that soared because they supposedly nailed their why. And yes, those stories are compelling. They pump you up. But here's the uncomfortable truth. This is survivorship bias screaming in your ear louder than a full-tilt fire alarm. For every Patagonia or Southwest Airlines, there are 1,000 equally passionate entrepreneurs with beautiful mission statements, crystal clear whys, and absolutely zero revenue left in their bank account. They believed, they inspired, they connected with their tribe, and they still went bust. Imagine Sarah. She launches her artisanal coffee subscription, driven by a deep, soulful why, connecting ethical growers with conscious consumers, empowering small farms. Her mission statement, pure poetry. Her social media, inspirational. But Sarah didn't track her cash flow. She ignored the looming threat of inflation on her raw materials. Her carefully crafted supply chain fractured under pressure. Deliveries stalled. She was too busy inspiring to notice her profit margins evaporating. She failed not because her why was weak, but because her how and what were utterly neglected. The market doesn't care about your noble intentions if your product is mediocre or your operational details are a complete train wreck. A powerful why can inspire, but office politics can still sabotage a brilliant team. A side hustle with the most profound purpose still needs a rock-solid business plan to survive the grim realities of the real world. Which brings us directly to the execution gap. Your why is a powerful compass, absolutely. It orients you, it clarifies your direction. But a compass by itself doesn't sail the ship. You need an engine, you need a competent crew, you need a detailed chart, and the skill to navigate through storms. Building a compelling why is step one, crucial, yes, but building a viable product, managing your team, understanding your finances inside and out, relentlessly iterating based on feedback, that's steps 2 through infinity. This book inspires action. It doesn't prescribe the actual, gritty, often boring work of execution. Don't ever mistake inspiration for actual, tangible progress. And finally, a crucial warning. Don't let your why become a convenient shield for mediocrity. Don't wave your grand purpose around to excuse a product that simply doesn't deliver on its promises or a service that's just meh. A profound why absolutely will not compensate for a shoddy what, a broken how, or a fundamentally flawed business model. It's not a magical free pass from market demands. Your purpose should elevate your product and your operations, not overshadow their glaring flaws. If this hits home for you, if you've seen this play out in your own work or with a side hustle, drop a like. Seriously, the number of times I've witnessed this exact scenario is staggering. So, is this bestseller worth your time, or is it just corporate astrology? Let's look at the final verdict. The verdict. You're grinding through another Monday, battling emails, chasing that promotion, right? So what's the ROI on this read? For pure, unadulterated strategy, we're talking a solid 8 out of 10. It shatters old notions of just work harder. But the science? Honestly, that's a generous 3. Seriously, some claims felt like a stretch, more anecdote than lab results. Take that with a grain of salt, folks. The bottom line here, grab this book for the communication framework. It unlocks how to articulate your purpose. But when the author starts deep diving into neurochemistry, feel free to skim. You don't need a biology degree to master your mindset. Here's the kicker, the actual takeaway for your commute home. Today, before you even hit snooze tomorrow, pin down your why in one precise sentence. Not a paragraph, one sentence. Why are you pushing that side hustle? Why are you slogging through the office politics? What's the real fuel? If this hits home for you, drop a like, because at the end of the day, you don't just work hard, you work for a reason. Check out the next video on deep work to handle the how part of the equation.